here we are, this is who we are.
For part 3, guys, thanks everyone for joining us here live. If you're here live with us with our patrons, that's great. If you're watching this on YouTube, that's great too. We love y'all. This is going to be part 3. So if you've been following along, we've been kind of taking this in chunks so that we can kind of process it piece by piece. And I think that's really all the context you need. You ready to get into it, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine anyone's just watching part 3. Hey, maybe part 3 is their favorite part of the interview. Who knows? I just want to see what they have to do with part 3. So yeah, we've really enjoyed getting to know Liam more and seeing his honest reactions or thoughts to certain questions. Again, no one has told us the name of this interview. We've asked for 3 videos in a row. So I'm going to ask one more time. What is this gentleman's name? It's the Diary of a CEO, but no one's told us his name. Maybe nobody knows. Maybe he doesn't have a name. I just want to keep calling him. I want to call him by his name, not his moniker CEO, but whatever. Okay. He's doing a good job. Okay. So here we go. Part 3.
Definitely have that. I'm the worst.
And it went really, really fucking well.
It went really well. And then it was like,
#1 in America.
The problem we had was, it was like having a baby. The thing was 9 months to get the #1 in America. So it took 9 months to work the record just to get the #1. So if you can imagine singing the same song every day for 9 months and having 1 or 2 songs to back it up with, it was pretty, I'm sure somewhere that must be put down as a method of torture.
Yeah, I can imagine. You must.
But this is the job, man. Yeah. And listen, the first few shows of anything are amazing. And then after a while, it's you'll find bits that will grate on you and whatever else. But, I've been so lucky to have the career that I've had. And let's hope for more of that. That's what I think at this point. But it's learning how to deal and channel that.
You did that.
And what's your relationship with the rest of the boys? I'm sure you get asked this all the time. But
great with most of them. I think everyone's settling into themselves at this point. I know I am for sure. I had a lovely phone call from Harry the other day who was checking in on me. And I mean, it's always some people have got sixth sense for you, right? That you're going through something, so they'll check in. And he's very much like that. He's a lovely, lovely boy. I love him to pieces. And then Louis, I speak to a lot. And we've always had a really, really close connection. And the funny thing for us, I've said this a lot, but we hated each other at the start. But it's almost the people that you grow.
We sensed that. Remember when we were doing our X Factor journey? Because
you could see him kind of cringing every time Louis was doing his little antics. You could see.
Here's my Louis impersonation on X Factor. Oh no! Company!
Yeah, watching Liam react to that was kind of you could see him just cringing. Silently, he wasn't making faces or anything, but you could tell he didn't.
Yes, Liam was taking it very seriously, and in Liam's eyes, it's hey, this is my big break, and Louis, you're fooling around. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they would butt heads, but now they're friends. Yeah.
Bro, closest to, Niall, I'll say it because he brought it up quite recently, but the whole thing of the talk about the reunion, for me, I'd rather we talked about it sooner rather than later because I don't want to.
Oh.
It's tough touring that sort of a record, and I enjoyed touring for what I enjoyed it for. But there's parts of it that really, really fucked me up, man. In a sense, I'll be honest with you.
This is what I predicted. This is what both of us really, we've said that this is one of the ingredients really that made it hard for Liam because he's let's get back together, and it never really happened, right?
Right. Yeah.
Listen to him talk about this. He's struggling to try and get his record going because it's just him, and he misses he needs that support. Oh boy.
Sure. It's I mean, let's be frank here. If at this time, One Direction, all the other guys said, you know what? I'm tired of being a solo artist. Let's work together. Let's do that again. Liam, okay, let's do it. Of all the people, I hate to say it, the reverse is of all the people, Liam would be the most he would drop whatever he's doing, but everyone else would have to drop what they're doing too.
Yeah. No, this is a good comment. It's not just that he wanted it; he needed it in order to survive. He needed it. Yeah.
I hate to argue again about these, alternate universe timelines, but let's just pretend the boys decided to have a reunion. I mean, they can still do their solo projects, let's just say on the side, but they could still make One Direction albums every 3 years, let's say, and tour let's say they just did an album every 3 years and toured every 3 years, how big they still would be.
Oh yeah.
And Liam would be happy just doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But none of us talk about it. It's like,
sorry. Go ahead.
Think about the fan base now. This is still years later. If they were to actually say, hey, you know what would be a really big money making machine if we got back together and did like an album again and just and then stepped away from it for 5 years and did that every 5 years, it would be solid gold. Yeah.
Taboo subjects like, oh, we can't get back together. What do you mean? Oh my God, like us in the same room? What the fuck is that about?
What fucked you up about touring?
My dad said it from day one, lonely hotel rooms, man. Getting locked in that room is not fun when you've been exposed. I mean, I've come off gigs before. I did a gig in Dubai. I was really worried no one was going to show up. It was one of my first solo gigs by myself. And I suppose I'm uber self-critical. I'm always like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So I get to this park and the capacity for the park is like, you've never seen. I'm looking at like a park. I'm like, how the hell? And I'm thinking, we're getting paid a lot of money to be here. This is going to be really embarrassing if nobody shows up. And I don't know anybody in Dubai. I can't even call 10 friends to be here.
So those Dubai people, they're so funny. They will spend money. One of those billionaires from there, I think it's from that area of the world anyways, who sort of a side tangent, but this is kind of money they spend. They'll pay for artists to come perform. Just come perform for me at my party. They'll pay them like $10 million. Which would be like you and I. It'd be like you and I, maybe $1,000, maybe $100 out of our own money to have your favorite artist play in your living room. Like, sure, I'd pay $1,000 to have Metallica play in my living room. Right. I'd pay $1,000. Like that's nothing, right? And that's what these billionaires. It's even easier for them. Even $10 million is nothing to some of these people. Anyways, so he was probably paid something like that. He was probably paid $5 to $10 million come perform. Side note, there is a multi-billionaire who wants to pay Tyson $700 million to fight the Logan guy again. Remember that Netflix fight that they had?
Yeah, it was a joke.
That's right. The billionaire is saying, I will pay you, Tyson, $700 million if you knock him out in 3 rounds. He's not, because he wants an honest fight out of Tyson.
Yeah. Yeah.
He says, here's $700 million, but you have to knock him out in 3 rounds. And then he's basically saying you'll have a different fight. Well,
but I would guarantee that Jake Paul would get a cut of that too.
Oh, sure. He'll get paid too. But the bigger prize would be to Tyson to. Anyways, I just say that. I say all this, my tangent to say these people in Dubai, in this area, this is how when you're that rich, you're not buying stuff, you're buying people.
Yeah. Interesting here, this reference to the locked hotel rooms, because I think this has come up twice now.
Yeah,
right. And it's again one of the other issues with his passing was probably triggering for him. So yeah, that it came up twice in this interview is telling as well.
Yeah, it's in his brain for sure. Yeah.
So I'm like at dinner, I'm not eating my food and whatever else. Then I get back to the gig and there's people chanting and going, Liam. And I'm like, okay, there's people here. Oh my God, I can chill. I get out there and I'm like awash with this sea of people. And I notice the sound system's hella quiet behind me. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I get through the gig and you autopilot the hell out of it. When I got off stage, they're like, oh, you broke a record. You're on a list with Michael Jackson. There's 110,000 people. I'm like,
oh, wow.
Oh,
and I was like, I shit you not. I got back to my hotel room and I was sat in my room on a chair like this. And I was about to go to the Maldives with Cheryl and Bear, and I'm like, I don't think I can go to the Maldives right now. I can't move off this chair.
How did you feel on that chair?
Shocked. Why? Like to go from like I don't know who's going to be here to then I looked on the thing and it's like Oasis, Robbie Williams, all these amazing, AC/DC, all these outdoor gigs, amazing outdoor gigs, and then just me and Michael Jackson, and he's in there like 3 or 4 times. He's he is the list, but I was on the same list. I'm like, what the.
Can't be easy. Like going back to that hotel room. Like
and then that's it. It's just mute. It's almost like like in a movie where they throw a grenade and he goes, and then everyone's like, that's what it feels like, and you're like, oh my God, like
Yeah, because I've done 9,000, 15,000 in Sao Paulo. I did a talk with Obama. That's me name dropping.
Oh wow!
But they're not chanting. They're all very quiet. I mean, they clap at the end, but
how do it make you feel? You just feel like a different.
But I can completely relate because I was thinking last year I lived in New York City, but I was speaking around the world 50 weeks of the year, so I was home 4 weeks, and I go back to the hotel room. Sometime I haven't eaten because of the adrenaline.
Yeah, I mean, I believe Liam, but I just wanted to double check just to see. Yeah, I made the news. Yeah, it was 110,000 people at this Dubai concert. It was 2018, I think.
Wow.
He's been there before. So that Liam Payne has performed multiple concerts in Dubai. There you go. So, so I think the one that we're sorry, go ahead.
Well, probably that's what made him go, "Oh, I could keep coming back here because people want to see me here."
Yeah. So I'm trying to see if people can. I don't want to not be. If people can look online, if anyone can look online that's watching us right now, just be curious if you can find out what he got paid. I'm just curious because I just sometimes that's public. It's public what they get paid for these things. So I'm curious. But good for him. That's cool that many people showed up. Yeah.
And it's very lonely, and you like YouTube and
what
room
do I
service.
do now?
Yeah, but 110,000 people screaming your name, and you're performing.
Wild. I had the prince or the king or something to Dubai dancing to strip that down.
Oh wow! I need to get that on
In a
TikTok.
country where you conveniently can't strip it down, which I thought was quite funny, but he was up dancing.
So we were talking about the touring here. The touring part really messed you up. So the hotel rooms.
Yeah.
A return of 1D.
Yeah, I mean, I saw like a thing of people being like angry at X Factor these last few weeks, and I wanted to say something about it, but I didn't really know what to say on my terms because I feel like there's obviously going to be some people in there who are bitter, and you sign up for this show, you don't really know what the hell you're getting yourself into. But I would agree, and
So here's the set list for that show. So he did a couple of his own songs. So Bedroom Floor was his song. Then he did a Zed cover. Never heard of Zed. Then he did a Liam Payne, one of his own songs with Rita Ora cover, For You. Then he did a Pink cover, What About Us? A Charlie Puth cover, Attention. And then an unreleased new song called Tell Your Friends. Then he did One Direction songs at the end, History, Little Things Drag Me Down. Then he did Ed Sheeran, Shape of You. And then his encore, his last song, 11th song of that little set list was Strip That Down, was what he's referring to. So there you go. Played 11 songs. Probably got paid probably at least $100,000 per song, at least.
Yeah, probably somewhere.
At
in that
least,
ballpark.
at the very least. There's no way it was under $1 million.
We were talking about the touring here. The touring part really messed you up. So the hotel rooms.
Yeah.
A return of 1D.
Yeah, I mean, I saw like a thing of people being like angry at X Factor these last few weeks, and I wanted to say something about it, but I didn't really know what to say on my terms because I feel like there's obviously going to be some people in there who are bitter, and you sign up for this show, you don't really know what the hell you're getting yourself into. But I would agree, and we've actually gone out of our way as a team to make this possible for me, and I think a record label just bought into the idea of what we've made, and I was the guinea pig. Right, so pick the craziest person in the room to start with. That's a good place to start. And we made this thing to like care for people in the industry because we don't have unions, we don't have people to look after us. And I was a kid, I was a child when this happened to me, and I'm very fortunate to still be here today to be able to tell this story. But for most people, they feel abused or something in some sense. So I just think that there needs to.
So there must have been some like information that came out about X Factor, or somebody's making a claim, or
there's been I've seen some recent stuff
abused, or
so I've seen some recent interviews where this is still a thing. So I don't know if he's referring to the same contestant because I don't know these names of these other contestants, but I've seen a recent interview like this last year where people are making claims. It was after his passing. So it got reemerged. It got reemerged about the mistreatment of some of the contestants' mental health. And the question basically was, and it's a fair question, but I'm kind of like bipartisan on both sides. Like this person was saying like the record company or X Factor or Simon Cowell even are responsible for these people's mental health for like ever. And I'm like, I don't know about that. It's like, it's almost like blaming your school teacher for like I had an abusive school teacher in grade 5. So now like, how long is that? Like maybe they were a jerk of a teacher in that grade, but how long are they responsible? How long is the school system responsible for my mental well-being after I leave school? Like there's a weird accountability. I understand like within the building, maybe the school should be accountable for my mental health if I'm in there. But I'm 50, I can go back. I was mistreated in school, so I should still. I don't know. I don't know. How long is X Factor responsible for Liam's mental health? I don't know. That's a question that I don't know. I don't have the answer. So that's what he's bringing up. That's what he's talking about. There's people who are in the X Factor.
And he's weighing in here, and he's trying to like. It's not that he's trying. I think he's being very good and diplomatic about it. Where he's not. I don't think he's throwing all this blame on X Factor. I don't think that's where he's going with this.
No. I think he's probably a little bit. I think he's saying the same thing actually that I'm saying. He's grateful for X Factor that gave him an opportunity, but there are people who are coming out after the system as well. So, yeah. Nope.
Be a self-care, a care system within these shows, because if they're gonna move people through these shows and use them to make television, they can't just like let them off afterwards. And I could never watch X Factor because I was always heartbroken, because I'd been the guy who made it really far and then got let go, and it ruined me when I was 14. I was crap at school, depressed, like it ruined me at one point. But I've also then been the guy who, I think my dad actually came out and said it in a thing.
That's the conundrum. It's kind of like, how should I say this? And I'm not trying to sound like a dick here. I'm really not. But it's like, this goes for a lot of, like, you hear celebrities say this all the time. That's sort of the price of fame. It's like a lot of celebrities will tell you, I wish I could just go to the store and go shopping without being, but then you're a celebrity with millions of dollars and you've got a job of being an actor and you're in incredible films. But it's I hate to say, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Something has to be sacrificed. You're either sacrificing your privacy, or you're going to be schlubs like us going to work, and I get to go to the store and nobody bothers me and no one's asking for my autograph. But I also don't have access to whatever I want in the world. Like, I can go on trips, I can buy stuff. I have financial security for me and my generations of family. So yeah, this is the conundrum of life, folks. Fame or fortune, right? So it's just so the X Factor again is like, it's not like they're going. It's not like the people in the company are like, yeah, we're gonna whip the kids or we're gonna beat them, and like, but they are put through a refiner's fire of like, get on the stage, perform.
Oh, it has to be rigorous.
Yeah, it's rigorous. It's not abusive, but it's like, yeah, you're going from, I'm just a kid going to school to all of a sudden I'm on the stage performing in front of a million people. Yeah. So I guess there's probably some sort of, when they sign, like, hey, you're going to go through some really difficult stuff. Are you ready for this? But people, that's the thing, Nathan. People are like, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, and then they can't take it, and then start.
But then whose fault is that?
People to blame. Oh, I know. I totally agree. I think that yeah, there's plenty of this everywhere. By the way, it's not just like X Factor. It's like there's a generation that's kind of coming up, and I'm not trying to like throw shade at them, but there's a real tendency to look at the generations before, and there always has been, by the way, and blame that generation for your problems. Right. And there's some you can assess, but that always comes down to like, but what are you going to do now? Like, yes, okay, that might be true, but what are you going to do now? Is your whole existence going to be, I'm fat because my parents made me fat, and then while you're eating cheeseburgers all the time, like it doesn't work that way. You have to actually like decide what you're going to do now, and stop like blaming everything on the past.
That's what I mean. Like I've left the school. It was a bad experience. I had to find a childhood. I'm just using that as an example. And if I left the school, like I had really mean teachers for 5 years in school. Okay, but you're not there anymore. Now what?
Yeah. It's the now what. I think that's, and I do think Liam is aware of this. It still leaves its mark. It leaves its mark.
Yeah, there's trauma. People have trauma. I get that. I'm not I'm not for or against, but these are the questions every individual has to ask themselves. Okay, I'm out of that system. I'm not on X Factor anymore. Okay, I'm not there anymore. Cool. Now what?
Yeah. We were filming once. He was like, you've been told no more than any winning X Factor contestant or like any successful X Factor contestant. I'm like, thanks, Dad. It's great to know.
What an unusual experience.
Wild.
If you were to tour again, would you do it differently? Would you have...
I don't actually even know how I would tour again. I really want to, and like, I want to put... I always said throughout this solo career, I'd let my songbook speak to me. And I don't think my songbook has necessarily spoke to me enough to get me off my ass to go somewhere yet. I only became a solo artist because I had stripped that down. I wasn't going to do it. I was going to leave it alone.
Music?
Yeah. I was going to leave it hell alone. I was like, I've survived once. Thank you very much. But now I'm back in.
Why?
because the song, I knew it was right. It felt right with the song. Whereas I haven't had that. And this year, the song that we have, I feel really right about. So I would rather let the music do the talking than me come out and
try and force it.
I mean,
Oh yeah, that's. I hear what he's saying. He's basically saying like, yeah, I'll write music when it comes to me. I don't want to like. You're expected because Harry's made 3 albums. Where's your 3 albums? Like, well, you know, everyone creates at a different pace, or you know, I'm not creative, but if I was forced just to write a song lyric, okay, I guess I better start thinking of a song. Like, I think the better songs are the ones that you hear about. The incredible songs. It just came to me.
Yeah,
like it just whatever that part of you taps into that universe. That's often those are the best songs when the lyric writer, the composer just says it just came to me like in a dream at night. Like they weren't pushing it out. That's well, it's the essential. That's writer's block, right? Isn't that what writer's block is? Is I can't think right now. I can't.
Yeah, there's a whole process there. We could dive into that at another time, but yeah, it's fascinating to hear him talk about how he said that he was going to leave it all, right? Basically, and then because of this inspiration and because he kind of felt like, wait a second, I actually believe in this, he did a 180. Yeah, fascinating. It makes me want to hear the song. Actually, I can't remember the song.
We may have. We've done a couple of his, so we may have. But I forget the titles. Yeah.
It's such a fast-moving industry these days. It's one of the biggest races in the world, right? If we had a start line for how many musicians there are trying to make it right now and who's going to outwork the other one, we'd need a very big track.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of got to that place that we don't need any more useless music in the world. In my eyes, it needs to mean something.
You said there's something, in the previous answer that you've said online, which is that you're lucky to be here. One of the most moving things I've ever seen, which honestly disturbed me and has stayed with me my entire life, was that Avicii documentary. And the way that his management were pushing him and he had social anxiety.
Go back a second. Go back. I'll go back.
I didn't hear the artist's name. Miji?
Whereas I haven't had that. And this year, the song that we have, I feel really right about. So I would rather let the music do the talking than me come out and
try and force it.
I mean, it's such a fast-moving industry these days. It's one of the biggest races in the world, right? If we had a start line for how many musicians there are trying to make it right now and who's going to outwork the other one, we'd need a very big track. Yeah. So it's just kind of got to that place that we don't need any more useless music in the world. In my eyes, it needs to mean something.
You said there's something, in the previous answer that you've said online, which is that you're lucky to be here. One of the most moving things I've ever seen, which honestly disturbed me and has stayed with me my entire life, was that Avicii documentary.
Avicii.
And the way that his management were pushing him and he had social anxiety.
Okay, I just don't know who that is. Do you know the artist's name?
I know vaguely one song.
Okay.
But I can't even bring it to mind. Avicii was this artist that it's like kind of came and went, like strangely quite popular, but I don't know where Avicii's at today. I couldn't tell you. It feels like they were very, very popular and then all of a sudden just dropped off because I can't, like I say, I can't tell you other than the one song. If I heard it, I'd be able to say, oh yeah.
Oh, he's dead. So that might be.
Oh, gee. Okay. Well, there you go. That tells you how much I know.
I just Googled it. So he died at the age of 28. That's probably why the documentary came out in 2018. So they probably did a documentary on his passing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, isn't that? Oh boy, that's very ironic here. If you think about it.
Oh boy.
They're talking about an artist who went too soon in a documentary. But he might have had a health issue. So I'm saying he died April 20th, 2018. He was on holiday. 28. No cause of death was immediately given. There was no criminal suspicion or foul play. But there was a day before his death, friends expressed concern about his mental state.
Oh, dear.
So it sounds like nothing has been officially given, but yeah. Mm-hmm. So there you go. Wow. Talk about a haunting foreshadow here.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
The mental state talk is really the issue here. And I mean, Liam didn't commit suicide, but he wasn't in a proper mental state. Yeah.
And Stephen he's alluding to it because of what Liam just said. Like he's bringing up Liam's own words and saying, I'm repeating these words back to you. You said, I'm lucky to still be here. and then he's referring to this documentary about Avicii. Where's he going to go with this? I want to hear what he says.
Yeah. No, but I'm glad we got some context, though, what's going on here.
And, oh, God, it just haunts me.
You know what, with those things, I mean, I've spoken to managers who've lost people and different, and you know, I've definitely put strain on a lot of people in my life in the past. You see, it makes me like makes me a different person. I don't like talking about it. You know, I think it's hard. It's just as hard for the team around you at points as it is for you, because we didn't all know how the hell we got here. Everyone's kind of looking around like, we don't really know how the hell we got here. So where's the next move? And there's always someone who will pull you through. I've been very, very fortunate now with the people that I had to pull me through my bits. And it's, you know, and that's why I say this care system is so important, right? Music is the lifeblood of a lot of our things. It's the background to our movie scenes when we're sat in the back of the car looking longfully out the window. But then we don't want to look after the thing that's kind of feeding us that much. You know what I mean? So I think for artists, in the sense, they do need that. I feel that it doesn't need to get lost in translation in other things. It genuinely needs to be a care system. But then everyone's over therapied these days in that sense anyway. But it's like, if you want it.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of different things are being brought up here. But basically, I think he was saying, like, he talked about how I got a sense here that he's definitely, in my mind, I could be wrong, but I feel like there is a strong connection between his personal success and his mental health. I feel like there's still this strong connection where he values, not to say his life depends on it, but there is a certainly, well, that goes without saying, anyone's personal success in their job would equate to mental health. And then he's going back to, then I like how he switched here right away, talking about, again, back to the X Factor thing a little bit, like, and then he says how people are over therapy. I agree with that too. Like, sometimes we overthink our own mental health. Like, just like, you can get to the point where you just have 100 different therapists telling you, you know, like at some point, okay, of Howard Stern, you've heard of Howard Stern. Well, he's notorious. He's been seeing a therapist. He talks about it on the show for 30 odd years.
Yeah.
You know, so at some point, like, it's like, I don't know, like, are you not getting, like, maybe you could just argue he just needs it to get through the day. That I understand that, but I don't know. I have my own thoughts on it too. I've been through therapy. I've had my own ups and downs about it. I've gotten some tools that I kind of like, oh yeah, I like that tool. I like that idea. But anyways, that's a whole, like you said, this whole other talk. But yeah, but he's talking about here about being over therapy. Let's see how he tags that.
It should be available, you know?
Is there a moment where you look back and say that was the lowest moment for me? That was the pivotal moment.
I had a few of them. I was worried how far my rock bottom was going to be.
Oh,
where's rock bottom for me? And you would never have seen it. I'm very good at hiding it. No one would have ever have seen it. But rock bottom, I mean, I don't even know if I hit it yet. You know what I mean? I feel like it's like one of those little graphs you see when it's like, oh, if we hit the support, the market support, yeah, we're there. This is support level. Oh my God, you know.
Oh wow.
It's the same thing. So it feels like I can either make that choice now and pick my last moment as my rock at the bottom, or I can make a new one and make a whole new low. That's my choice.
You said online that you had previously been masking your emotions.
Okay. Yeah. Look at how uncomfortable he was saying that.
Oh yeah.
Like even leading up to it, he was like, I'm talking about stuff that I don't ever talk about, and he's kind of uncomfortably unpacking this. There's lots of stuff telling her, man, there is, especially like when he preempts it with like, oh, people are over therapied, but he needs it. Like I would say there's plenty of people who don't need it, and he's right in pointing that part out. There's people who are like, yeah, like I'm not sure they actually need the therapy. I think they're just fine, but he does. There's no question. And hearing just the way he's kind of justifying, and then I don't know if I've hit my rock bottom yet. Oh, there's I'm sure therapists watches this and just is scratching their head and going, there's lots here that hasn't been dealt with.
Yeah, agreed.
And feelings, and this was something that you were trying to get over. Said you tried to learn to deal with your emotions instead of masking them. How important has that been? This is something I really struggle with. I'll tell you why. Because I was CEO of a company, 27 years, 26, 27 years old, 700 employees, and
that's wild.
Fucking wild, is it? All around the world, these adults that are double my age, And I have to be, right? My business partner, he'll tell you,
have to be assertive for
he
once.
fell away, right? Alcoholic, put on all this weight, depressive anxiety, fell away. So I'm carrying him because because we are co-founders, we're seen as a unit. So when he's out in the street, and he won't mind me saying this, because he's been drinking all day with the team, and he's stealing bottles of wine off other people's tables, just total strangers, and he's doing things in public, which he'd get arrested for, with parts of his body that I'm not going to talk about. When he's doing those things, I'm getting a phone call. I'm 26, and I have to not only manage him, my business partner, but then I'm having to manage all the impact that's had on all of our employees. And I felt that I could never talk or be vulnerable. The thing I find so...
But that's why I said it's not, people don't realize it's not just, and what happened to Avicii is terrible, by the way. And I haven't seen the documentary. I didn't watch it. I actually knew someone who worked with him. He wrote with me as well. And he said that what he saw was going on was not good. But for the most part, for a lot of these people, there's usually somebody in there that's not very good. But everyone else is trying to help, and you don't see the effect it's having on them as well. You live and die by the sword. I live and die by my sword. That's it. But the person who's behind trying to pick up the shield to help me, they haven't even got the fucking sword. They're just diving into battle for you. And that's the difference. You know what I mean? It's like people miss out on that bit. So it's never just...
There's a little hint there of something you just said, where he said there's always somebody who isn't making it good, who's like they often talk about the enabler in any toxic relationship, that they think they're helping them out by going and bringing them the drugs, or they think they're helping them out by like covering for them, and but they're just making it worse, right?
There's tons of enablers that happened with Matthew Perry's passing, with the doctors. There's Michael Jackson, of course, all these celebrities who enablers, definitely.
Yeah.
On that person, you know what I mean? A lot of my stuff, if I hadn't had the help I had, I don't know where the hell I'd be right now. So that's a credit to you in a sense.
It's super, super tough. I think with the bit that I really respect you for, though, is you're very open about it. You talk about it. You talk about going to therapy. You talk about your lows. You talk about being unsure if you would even be here. And that's going to do a lot of good for a lot of people.
I hope so. I mean, the worst bit for me is, I think it's seen so much as a tool these days to hide behind the points. And for me, it's never about that situation. Like, I'm just telling you as what it is. And that's the bit where I think, like I say, I don't want any of this to get lost in translation. I am not 1% moaning about my life. I love my life at the minute. My life's great. It's had its ups, had its downs. But it's, I think I'd rather talk about it, and it's therapeutic for me. And this has been a really good chat, by the way. This is a cool chat. I like this chat a lot. There's been some shit ones, let me tell you.
I can imagine. Yeah. Because I'm genuinely asking you questions that I give a fuck about.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's the point, though. And I'm telling you the thing as if it matters to me, not trying to hide behind some sort of bullshit thing. Yeah. And like I say, I think there's many people who have this effect on therapy and all those things and sobriety. And I ain't saying everyone at home, by the way, should go sober. I ain't telling them to go vegan. I ain't telling them to do whatever. I'm saying this is what I did, and it worked pretty okay for me so far. So,
You're good, because I like eating meat. Thanks, Liam. Woo! There's one thing I can take from this.
There was a time and you were trying to convince me not to eat meat.
I would never try to convince you.
Well, you were saying, have you ever thought about not eating meat? And
I think everyone has. I think you can't live as long as we have and not change your diet. My wife and I, we did go vegetarian, not vegan, vegetarian. At a time, I can't remember. It was like probably 10 years ago now, and it just didn't last very long. It was just like and I love vegetables. That's the thing, people misunderstand. Like, but I love vegetables, but I can't do full. I have chicken, man. Chicken's just dang, so tasty. What's a fried chicken? What's a fried chicken right now?
You made a movie. You wrote a movie.
Actually, after this recording, I'm going to have an early lunch. Becky made chicken pot pie. It's in the fridge waiting for me to heat up.
Oh boy.
Right.
I've been working on something for a while, and me and Christian spoke about it a few weeks ago, and It's funny that it's based around AA, but I had a really weird AA experience the first time that I went into.
What's AA for anybody that doesn't know?
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Right.
And my first experience was with Russell Brand, which if you've seen Get Him to the Greek or any of those other movies, I went to his house and I love Russell.
There's something about that sentence which I can't get over.
He's a
My
character,
first
that guy.
experience was with Russell Brand.
Okay. I mean, yeah, exactly. All right, so I'm in his house. I'm in this dude's
Sounds like
house.
the
And I've
deep
never
end.
met him. And I've only seen him on the movies and as a comic. And My Bookie Wookie, I love that stuff. And like, so I know a lot of things about him, but I'm a really shy person when I first meet. I'm like, oh my God, like, so he makes me a coffee and we sit talking about our experiences. And I've never seen someone look at me the way he looked at me. Like, find you a man who looks at you like Russell Brand looks at you when he's listening to your stories, because he like looks into your soul. I was born again. And then we went to this meeting. It was an all male meeting, and there was everything in the meeting from prison guards to ex-soldiers to ex-cons to postmen to bin men to everything, and then me and Russell Brand. So I'm like, this is the weirdest room I've ever been in my life. We're in like some old like community like church room or whatever. And then he's taking the chair in the room. So my first experience with AA was like the best experience ever. Because it was like he was just doing stand-up. It was unbelievable.
He was doing stand-up in an AA meeting.
No, it's like they have someone who chairs the meeting.
like
and
leads
the
it.
idea is like, if they say like, oh, can you talk about relationships and how it was affected by alcohol? Then he'll tell the story of his alcoholism or narcotics thing. And then you'll link in from his experience and go, oh my God, I'm the same as you. And that's how it works. I'm not going to give the whole script away because otherwise I'll tell you the whole film. But I kind of came up with this film, and I haven't spoken to Russ about it, which is
So he has a film idea.
Did this ever get made, or is this
No, I
just okay?
No, I'm guessing no. Let us know in the chat. I would suspect no. But yeah, Russell Brand's an interesting character. He's an interesting character.
Yeah.
He had his issues with sobriety, but he's clean and sober now, which is my understanding. And yeah.
the first thing I have to do, because it was from him that this, obviously I'm in a movie right now, and I'm one of the characters, and I'm sat here going, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here, but apparently I'm alcoholic and I've got a problem. Oh my God, what's going on? The walls are closing in.
Will Ferrell walks in.
Yeah, exactly. The Wolf of Wall Street was in the corner over there. No, it was wild. It was wild. So I'm excited about it, and I think it's really funny. I showed it one of my friends, and she really liked it. She laughed a lot at it. So we'll see.
Quick one. As a serial entrepreneur that's currently building multiple projects across multiple industries, everything from the marketing industry to blockchain to consumer goods, everything. One of the things that has been a lifesaver for me, and again, a company that I reached out to evangelize about on this podcast because I'm a loyal customer, and they ultimately ended up sponsoring this podcast, is Fiverr.com.
Fiverr. I've heard of Fiverr.
Fiverr.
What that site allows me to do is extend my capacity across all of my projects. If I'm looking for a graphic designer, someone to edit a video, someone to do a website for me, it allows me to extend my capacity without hiring people. And the quality of freelancers on Fiverr has been amazing. And when the trust and the service you get is that phenomenal, and the services offered are that diverse, it's a no-brainer. Whether you have one member of staff, you're a freelancer yourself, or 1,000 members of staff, Fiverr can be a game changer for you. And I'd love you guys to check it out. Use the link below. Go to fiverr.com/CEO/whelp. Screenshot if you end up using the service. One of you is going to win something very amazing. What else is
did we get a cut of this? We just showed this. Did we get a cut?
Yeah, where's our
Come on,
cut?
Fiverr. You know what? We've had companies reach out to us, but they're not companies like, they're always these. I don't get them. I don't know. It would be kind of fun just to do it just for once. Just try doing an ad. And just just to do one, even though like it's ridiculous that we're doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, yeah, almost like Wayne's World-esque. You know, where they were like,
in a way, that would be our humor.
That
but
sequence.
There are all these Chinese software. Like, I'm not sure. Like, hey, you want somebody to hack your account? Check out this app on your phone. So those are the companies that have reached out to us. These weird like app games, and you're like, ugh,
yeah.
It's not Fiverr. It's not. Yeah.
What else is going on in your life in terms of like business and investing and projects and stuff like that? When you think about the direction of travel that you want to take over the next 10 years, which direction do you want to focus on and go in? You're investing tons. You've got your own businesses now.
Well, there's only one direction I want to go.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
One's going to say the same thing to you every time you have an interview. They're going to say, when's the reunion?
I mean, I've had my business learning curve from the day I first got my like first check, and I went to the manager. I'm like, what do you invest your money in? Because he had the biggest garden in London. I was like, he's a good place to start. He had the biggest home garden, which you don't think he does anymore, Steve, do you? Okay, apparently he doesn't anymore. Okay. But apparently he did. When I was younger, he did. So I'm like trying to ask him like what he invests in. He's like on about gold and whatever else. And then you learn about safe haven currencies and all these other things. And then I started to branch out a little bit more. Then I went on to properties, which was always the one I wanted to do. And then when I was 19, I nearly bought a fighting agency, which was fun.
A fighting agency?
Bama. I got bought in to buy Bama when I was 19. So I roll up to this in my Burberry coat thinking I'm an absolute bad man because I'm about to buy like England's UFC.
Oh, okay, fine.
Right? So I go to this arena in Manchester. I'm looking, capacity's not great, everything else. But I'm looking at all the stuff. And you're a kid. So I'm a kid. And I mean, I remember being front row of the fight and some guy behind me obviously doesn't like the band very much. Like, sit down, shut up, whatever else. But every fighter then, after got out the ring and shook my hand. And I just kept looking behind thinking, you still got something to say? Do you know the guy with the scary clown mask who just need that other guy's nose off? Like, he's my friend.
Okay, so his son is standing to inherit $30 million from his passing. Okay, so his child is taken care of.
Yeah.
But this is what I find, not just Liam, I find this interesting. Like his net worth at his passing was about 70 million US dollars. Okay. So I always find this interesting. I mean, it's a good chunk of change. It's more than I will ever have. When you have that much money, you don't, I guess I don't like complication. As you know, I like quiet. I got 70 million in my bank or whatever. Like, I don't need to invest in property. Like just buy a home outright, travel the world, keep 5 million aside just to keep accruing interest at the very least. Don't touch that. Let that just build interest to the day you die. Give that to my like. You don't have to blow it all. Like the idea, I think that's what happens is people are like, oh, I have 70 million, so I must buy a yacht. I must no, just stop. You don't have to invest. You just put it away and let it grow. And just
Yeah, well, it sounds like he was trying, but he was saying, I'm 19 years old and I don't know what I'm doing.
No, I'm not talking about Liam per se, but you hear about these celebrities. They got so many fingers. I guess they just got to keep busy. I get that. There's all various. I'm just saying for Ryan, I would just be like, I'd be like, hey, but then you could just quietly, and there are people that do this. There are celebrities who do this. They paint. Mm-hmm. They do one song a year.
They've wanted to do, or yeah.
And they release it on YouTube. Here's a little hobby I do, and so there are people that do that. In fact, who was it? Oh, I can think of it not top of my head, but there are artists that do that where they have a lot of money and they just do silly things, and just because they can, for sure.
They can, yeah.
But properties isn't a bad idea. I think if anything, that's not a bad one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was like, yeah, exactly. And then I went and met everybody afterwards, and I got into his company, but unfortunately, the deal wasn't great. I put it through one of my investors that I have, and then it's like people try to catch you out. And this was always my biggest problem. Very fortunate to live in some lovely places. And every time someone would show up at my door to do something, and the job would cost £500, they would try and charge me 50 grand because the house was big.
Yeah.
And I'm like learning early on, but don't get me wrong, I've spent some money on some stuff I shouldn't have spent money on.
Yeah, I told you. That's what kind of happens. You have money. Oh, yeah. And I get it. Trust me. I would probably, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see, Nathan, like what would you buy over the years? Like I didn't have to buy this, but I can. I wonder what that purchase would be, what that first purchase would be of like, I wonder what for you would probably, I know for you would probably be something like Lord of the Rings memorabilia, like you saw an auction, like Aragorn's cape or his crown from the film set or something.
No, if I had like that kind of money, it'd be probably the car that I've always wanted.
Oh, what's that car?
The Nissan Z, which is not that big of a deal. The newest one. And then it would be like some like sweet camera gear, like the fastest, coolest drone. Like
but that's no. But I talk about something that what would you call it? Like that's what I mean. Like something you don't need or whatever.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Just
okay, sure.
Like,
yeah, like the armor of Sauron.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, for me, it'd be hookers and blow. All right, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into details because I lost some money. Like, my thing I always say to people is like, I will tell you where I lost as much as I tell you where I win.
You gotta make mistakes though, right? We
Yeah,
all make
100%.
mistakes.
And like, my point is, I'm going to do better than whatever my last mistake was anyway.
Sure.
That's the point. If I trust myself enough, it won't matter in the long run.
When you think about money, though, you know, you didn't come from money. You didn't come from the back. When you started, I read that your dad had tons of debts and stuff like that. And so your relationship with money will be very, very different as you've gone over the last decade than a lot of other people, because to you, it was probably something that you thought you built up more when you were younger, right?
Yeah, and I think as a kid growing, and especially if you like rap music as well, it becomes a completely different thing. Rap music made me spend a hell of a lot of money. I would say, yeah, I mean, I have one of my friends over recently, and my dad made decisions in our house of what was going on and stuff, and he did them for the right reasons.
Look at that watch he's wearing. It's probably at least
yeah. It's gonna be like a
10 to 50 grand.
watch.
Yeah, 10 to 50,000. I mean, that watch looks like my yearly income, but
So I stand by that, and he doesn't need to feel any pain in that whatsoever, because he wanted us to go on a holiday and go to America, and he would bury himself. And he was so stressed. He said at one point in his life, he woke up and he couldn't remember his own name because he was so far in debt that he was only covering the interest, which I can't imagine how that feels. I mean, it probably feels exactly the same how I feel some days with the other side of it, which is wild, and we won't get into that. But at one point in my life, I mean, my friend, he's a professional poker player now, but he was quite a rich kid at school because he was like playing poker since he was like 13. So when we would go down to get breakfast, I couldn't afford it. And he'd buy me like 20p's worth of toast, and I couldn't afford it.
Nice.
Which is wild.
So then when you get money,
I didn't know my family were poor, but they were fucking, we were not in a good place.
so how did that impact your
that's a
relationship
good
with money
spot
when
right
you
there.
finally, were you a splurger? Would you know?
At points, yes, on certain stuff I would, but not. I'm more of a worrier than I was a splurger. I was like, because of where I lived and where I was from, I knew it could disappear. So I was always really cautious about protecting what I have and only spending what I earn.
That's money and happiness. Talk to me about the link. A lot of people.
There isn't one.
Yeah.
It's a myth.
So
I think the way to think about money, and I mean, there's a beautiful thing I had as a kid, and when we used to go to church, so the woman got a £5 note out, and she said, have you ever read a £5 note? And I was like, no, I haven't. I was like, five. I'm like, no. And she's like, if you read it, it says, I promise to pay the bearer of this note £5. So money is promises, which I thought was great. But if you develop on that, and conversations I've had with people, money is care and the ability to relax on certain things. Life's going to kick you in that nut sometimes, and you're going to need something to help those around you. So it's never so much been for me about spending money on me. And sometimes I have to remind myself to shop because I'm terrible. And I'm one of those people who like will go on a shop, fill a basket, and then just not do the rest of it. I leave it there. And I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like I bought something now. That's good. At least I did something fun with what I'm working my ass off for. But I'm not like that. So it's like, in terms of with things with my family and different things that have happened, like my dad's debt for all those sorts of different reasons, I'd rather have it on hand. And if something, God forbid, happens to any of us, my family are the last people to ever ask me for anything. And I'm the first one to go, this is why we do what we do,
Yeah, I mean, that's another, we could have an hour conversation about it. I would just say, as a normal working dad with a family, wife and kids and a mortgage, and it's not money that's making me happy. Like, I'm able to pay my mortgage. We have food on the table. So I'm grateful for this. So that makes me happy in the sense that I don't go without. There are people who don't have a home, who don't have food, who don't have clothing, who are homeless or unhoused, or who are sick and unhealthy, and they're all throughout the world. So now, are they happy? Because I guess what I'm saying is that when you don't have things, then it's just, you're just adding more. But you're right. But I still have struggles, pains, stresses, agitators. That's the same if I was a multi-millionaire or a homeless person. That's just the human experience, that no matter your station in life still finds a way to poke at you. So I guess it's just a different kind of happiness and or a different kind of sadness, depending where you like his experiences are different than ours. Obviously, he's going to have different trials than you and I have ever had. But he has money with those trials. I don't know. It's hard to say.
On a different note here, Kelly's saying that watch that we were just talking about.
Oh yeah,
was the Rolex that was stolen from him. I didn't know that a Rolex was stolen from him after he died, but apparently
it's the same watch. So he wore that
watch. Yeah.
So we called it. We said between 10 and 50. So we're right in the middle there. All right.
Yep.
Wow. People are. Why are people
going through somebody's head like, oh, that's really sad. A celebrity that just died. I'll just
well, I just saw a horrible. I don't know what country it is. I mean, I don't think it was North American country. No aspersions here, but it showed I think the guy was dead on the street. Maybe it was a hit and run or something. But there's cops there, and the police name wasn't English, but you could see it was police. But there's a guy who's pulling the shoes off the corpse on the ground, like at a.
Oh wow!
Like, it's. I get it. I mean, you could say it's a desert. I mean, he didn't look. He was like a kid, like probably in his early 20s, late teens. He didn't look like he's just taking the shoes off the guy's body while the police were arriving. Type.
Didn't even horrify him.
He was like, he was looting. He was looting like a video game. He was looting. Oh, this guy doesn't need the shoes anymore, which isn't untrue. A body doesn't need shoes anymore, but still, it's pretty. Taking somebody's watch.
You have a son, Bear.
Bear,
beautiful child. He tells you that he's gonna apply for X Factor someday.
This is a tricky one.
Oh,
this is a tricky one. I think his mom's hoping he's going to become some like yoga person. His mom's very chill these days.
He says, I'm getting Instagram and I'm going to go do X Factor. What do you say to him?
I mean, he's got the best advice from the parents around him for the long run, I guess. But I don't know. I think
his dad
obviously we protected his identity to start off with. And that's not being pretentious or anything other than the fact that I want to give him a chance to be Bear first before he has to be, your mum and dad are so-and-so, And I made my choice to be where I was at 14, 15. So I figure he can make his own choice then too. We'll have a good discussion about it, a long discussion, because I know what effects that can have as well. But I would never stop him doing something he wanted to do. I'd let him know the risks and I'd tell him what was going to happen, and better that than, my parents didn't really ever experience any of the things I've experienced before I got there. So they had no idea what I was signing up for. Would they change it? Probably not. But they would change some things that happened in between across the way, I bet, 100%.
So he says he's going to do the show. You give him the disclaimer and the warning. What would you rather he did? If you could, as a dad, you could be that authoritarian and say, if you could choose, would it be to walk in your footsteps?
Something that he enjoys doing
that's all you
every
can
day.
ask. Just as long as you're happy.
And I mean, I say that lightly because I think everything that you do, depending on what kind of person you are, becomes annoying at a point. Doesn't matter what job you do, it's like, oh, I really got to do that again, Like my dad, I used to think my dad's job was the best job ever, like building airplanes, like adult Lego, like I said. Whereas my dad's like, do not end up in that bloody factory. That's the last thing you're going to do.
Would you want him to follow in your footsteps though?
No, I don't hope he did it better than I did.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I think sometimes you can get lost in the connection part of this game. And I think that's always been a difficult thing for me to connect with people because I put so many barriers up before you get to actually what's going on that it's almost like hurdling them in a way.
Why do you think those barriers are up?
Protection. I think it's protecting people from what's, if you turn up in a disguise every time, then you can always blame it on the disguise. The moment you're not wearing one, you got nothing to blame it on.
And what is...
This is our favorite camera angle. Sorry.
Big Steve, little
or Liam turns into a hobbit. Yeah. Sorry. Just a few more minutes here. We'll stop part 3.
That your manager over there, Stephen, would know about you that he probably I know. In terms of like...
That ain't a box we want to open on this show.
In terms of like what someone who knows you very well would say about you that we wouldn't expect just from what we see online. You talk a lot about this wearing this mask and you're wearing a disguise, even in your relationships. I'm really trying to understand because we've been here maybe now for 2 hours, whatever. And as time goes on and on and on, you get to know someone a bit better. and like my barrier goes down a bit, yours goes down a bit, we get more comfortable. And I'm like, who is that person behind there that people don't know? Because
I don't know. I mean, I think in certain part for me, having to translate it from music is difficult. And I am opinionated to an extent. Sometimes they can get me in trouble with some shit, and I hate that. That really does annoy me because it's like everyone's entitled to say what they want to say about something, right? You can disagree on, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I hide behind humor a lot. I make everything I can funny. And then that will leave it to not be as
offensive. Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah, interesting so far. He said he's been there for 2 hours. Now we're an hour and 15 minutes into the video of an hour 40-minute video.
A ton.
Yeah. Oh, how much footage? Maybe a pee break here and there, but still.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I wonder what, at least a half-hour footage. Maybe there was like talk before the interview. Yeah, anyways, he says 2 hours, but there's 45 minutes that we haven't seen. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. That's part 3. A lot of great discussion points. And thanks for listening to Ryan and Nathan talk about the things they're talking about in our own personal experience in life. I think that's what this reaction video is for. People just want to watch the interview without us. It's available on YouTube. You can watch it without us.
They kept pausing it and talking about it.
We still get those comments, Nathan, every now and then.
Oh, I know.
Why did you guys talk before and after the reaction video? We don't even pause the songs that we were. Anyways, people are fine.
Yes.
Why'd you? Yeah. The videos, the song starts at. That's I go to reaction channels just to listen to the music. Okay. Yeah, this is fantastic. This is a very, very telling, some foreshadowing, some insights. It'll be interesting to see what the last 25 minutes of this interview brings. But yeah, Liam's rest in peace, of course, and we'll say more later. But yeah, a good kid. At the end of the day, troubled, but a good kid. He's been through some stuff. Unfortunately, his story's not unique.
Yeah, well, that's where I was going to go with that.
Yeah,
there's plenty of stories like this, and there's a lot of seeds here that are very obvious. Not that I'm surprised. And I know that there's controversy about this and blah 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 blah. But there certainly is enough detail here to suggest that, everything wasn't like peaches and cream and always wonderful all the time. Things are not. There's challenges that people go through, and whatever those challenges look like, it's different for different people. Yeah, these are Liam's challenges. So
these are definitely
thanks for joining us with this, folks, and we'll see you on part 4.